Number 966, Indonesian Electric Vehicle Outlook 2023 EV Era. In this summary, Indonesia's greenhouse gas emissions are almost 600 megatons CO2 in 2021. The largest source of emission is from the supply side, namely energy industries, power generation, which accounts for around 50% of total emissions. In the demand side, the transport sector is the largest source of emissions, accounting for 23% of total emissions. In the transport sector, road transportation is the largest contributor with over 90% share. From 2015 to 2020, imported gasoline accounted for 52% of total gasoline consumption. The consumption of gasoline increased by 1.2 million kiloliters per year between 2015 and 2020, except when the pandemic hit in 2020, high dependence on imported gasoline makes our energy security vulnerable to fluctuating price of global commodities. Rising fossil fuel prices in 2022 forced the government to increase subsidized gasoline prices, leading to inflation starting at the end of Q3 2022. Decarbonization of road transport is achieved by changing travel behavior to reduce demand, which includes reducing unnecessary travel, avoid shifting to low carbon mode shift, and transporting to clean energy vehicle improve. The improved strategies such as switching to EV is easy to implement as everyone can easily participate. The adoption of EV also opens the opportunity to accelerate the development of renewable energy and in the long term can provide flexibility in the demand side through vehicle-to-grid operation. EVs have 7% less emission and 14% lower cost per kilometer than their ICEV counterparts. Grid emissions factor, fuel production emissions, vehicle efficiency, fiscal incentives by government, travel distance, and fuel price play an important role in EV GHG emissions and total cost of ownership calculation. Lack of infrastructure, high upfront cost, and low performance hinder the adoption of EVs. EVs that have competitive prices compared to ICEVs are more likely to be adopted. Another way to boost EV adoption is by retrofitting the vehicle through a conversion program. However, consumer confidence in conversion programs is low due to shorter warranty period and a lack of knowledge and experience in convert vehicles, which with limited access and high gasoline costs, EVs are the solution for remote areas. In addition, the availability of charging infrastructure and government tax exemptions are also important to support EV adoption. However, the reliability of electricity could be a problem in rural areas. EV policy in Indonesia compromise of fiscal and non-fiscal policies. Existing non-fiscal policies mainly stipulate the rules of the game for EVs, such as standardizing battery charging swapping stations and local content requirements. On the other hand, existing fiscal policies are mainly implemented to incentivize consumers to make EV more attractive. Currently, fiscal policies to incentivize the EV industry supply are limited as the government focused on boosting sale demand. Following the national government, several sub-national governments began to introduce EV policies since 2019. The notable provinces are Bali and DKI Jakarta. Other regions are catching up by introducing tax discounts for EVs and electrifying their bus rapid transport fleets. The government is planning to give cost reduction incentives for EVs to reduce their upfront costs. The amount of the incentive depends on the type of the vehicles. However, despite the reduced cost, some vehicles are still too expensive to purchase for most people. For instance, some mid-class EV cars, E4W, are still priced at ideal 500 to 600 million after cost reduction, which is affordable by less than 0.1% of consumers. On the other hand, cost reduction incentives for motorcycles are more effective since they make E25 prices much cheaper. Battery charging station SPKLU installations are advancing quickly in 2022 with more than 200% growth than the previous year. However, the installation is not well disturbed since 88% of total SPKLUs are installed in Jakarta and Bali. The distribution locations of fast chargers and slow medium chargers need to be evaluated. Since currently, at least in Jakarta, most fast chargers are located in state-owned enterprise SOE. Fast chargers are more suitable to be located on highways rather than office buildings, where users have much less waiting time. SPKLU regulation also needs to be evaluated as it still obliges SPKLUs to install three-port charger, which is very expensive. Revising this regulation will attract investments in SPKLU installation. Battery swapping station utilization rate can be optimized with battery standardization. This is because current SPKLUs are owned by E2W brands. Therefore, users can only use a specific SPKLU that matches with their E2W brand. This does not help to alleviate range anxiety that consumers still have. Despite the reports that SPKLUs in Indonesia are mainly used by commercial users such as ride-hailing, and logistics driver, standardization is still needed because it could alleviate range anxiety issues, as this issue is still a dominant barrier in Indonesia EV market. The ban on nickel or exports have resulted in the rapid growth of upstream battery nickel refining facilities, with at least 2 HPAL facilities already in operation and 3 more expected to be built in the next few years. However, the MHP produced with an estimated production rate of 657 kiloton per year has not yet been absorbed by the midstream industry to continue in the local battery precursor industry. In an effort to become an end-to-end producer of nickel-based EVs, the local industry initiates partnerships with battery companies. Also, the planned COD is still 3 years away. The delayed development of midstream EV battery industry is crucial, as the domestic EV industry has an increasing demand. Additionally, the government is promoting the growth of the domestic industry through public procurement and EV subsidies to ensure that the industry meets local content requirements for participating in the government program. Maritime battery-powered vessels are currently limited by their low energy density compared to other alternatives. This results in the reduction in the cargo space, making battery-powered boats practical only for short-distance trips and small gross tonnage. Several SMEs in Indonesia has innovated by developing battery-powered boats for the small-scale fishery sector, which is economically challenged by reduced access to subsidized fuel. In the aviation industry, electric aircraft are all limited by the low energy density of batteries, which affects the cruise range. The current certificated electric aircraft has an energy density of 144 watt-hour per kilogram, but research into advanced battery technologies is aimed at increasing this to 500 watt-hour per kilogram. Aircraft manufacturers worldwide are developing electric aircraft designs, particularly in the VTOL segment, which are expected to enter the commercial market in the next few years. Commercial B2B and government adoption could provide a viable initial market for the EV industry. Currently, several business, ride-hailing, and logistic companies start electrifying their fleets and set a target of 500% by 2040. This could ensure that the EV adoption in the domestic EV industry grows years before the retail individual market develops. However, for now, some businesses are still opting for ICEVs with higher power than EVs, mainly in motorcycles, which could be a barrier to B2B adoption. For the government, some sub-national governments are advancing in the adoption of EVs as official vehicles. E2W adoption increased 5 times between 2020 and 2022, with the impending IDR 7 million cost reduction. The E2W adoption outlook is expected to be higher from 2023 onwards, especially since some of E2W models are priced at the same price range as their best-selling ICEV counterparts. As the domestic industry is also growing, mainly the E2W battery industry and E2 manufacturer costs are expected to decrease year by year. The total cost of ownership TCO of E2W is expected to decrease by 9% per year between 2022 and 2030. Energy, that's all.